I picked the Boise Airbnb as it was low cost and basic, just a tidy spot near school where I could stay for 7 days while working hard on a study paper. I didn't mind the style or feel. I just wanted good internet and a calm spot to focus. The ad was a bit unclear. Private visitor room with washroom use 5 minutes from city center, but the photos showed a tidy space, big bed, and a washroom with a big mirror over the sink. For $70 each night, I wasn't going to complain. Nothing seemed wrong the first few days. The owner, a guy in his late 40s named Mark, gave me the entry code when I got there and told me the usual stuff about internet codes and garbage days. He seemed nice, if a bit quick, and I liked that he didn't stay long. The room was as I thought, simple but useful. I put my computer on the table, piled my papers, and got into my daily plan. In the day, I worked on writing. At night, I got food to go and watched poor shows on my device until I slept. But by the third night, I began seeing something about the washroom. The mirror over the sink was a bit uneven. Not much to notice at first, just slanted a few degrees left. It annoyed me. I fixed it straight, but the next morning when I went to clean my teeth, it was slanted again. I told myself it was loose. Old homes have odd things, and this one had many. The floor made noise. The windows shook when wind got strong, but something about the mirror bothered me. That night, after washing, I reached behind it to check for loose parts. Instead of a part, my fingers touched the side of a hole, round, neatly made. I bent low, looking hard. In the dark space, something caught the light. A small, shiny circle, no bigger than a coin. A lens. For a moment, I just looked, toothbrush in hand, trying to convince myself it wasn't what I saw. Maybe it was a pipe part, maybe a screw. But the longer I looked, the less those ideas worked. The position was right, aimed straight at the wash area. I stepped back and my chest felt heavy. I didn't touch it again. Instead, I took a picture on my phone, made it bigger, and the photo made it clear. A camera hidden behind the mirror. My first thought was to go right upstairs and face Mark, but a thought in my mind said, if he's watching you, then he knows what you're doing now. I put the phone down and made myself think. I unplugged my computer, put it and my papers into my bag, and left the light on in the washroom like nothing changed. I went to a food place in town, got coffee, and sat there looking at Airbnb's safety info. Hidden cameras were clearly not allowed. There was even a help number. I called it. The person was calm, almost too calm as I told them. She asked me to send the photo by email and told me to leave the place right away. We'll check it, she said, promising money back. But that didn't answer the question in my mind. What do I do now? At midnight, with no other place ready, I went to a big hotel off the road. Plain, costly, but the lock clicked behind me and I could relax again. The next day, Airbnb called back asking for more info. They said they'd talk to the owner. I never got news about that part. What I did get was from another visitor. A week later, I checked the ad. It was removed, but the owner's page still was there. And on one of his other places, a new comment appeared. Place was okay, but something about the washroom mirror made me uneasy. I didn't sleep much that night, because that meant I wasn't alone. Now, every time I stay in an Airbnb or any rental, I check all things. Mirrors, fire alarm, clocks, anywhere a lens could be. I never wanted to be the worried type, but I'd rather be worried than recorded without knowing. When I think about that week in Boise, it's not the camera that bothers me most. It's the fact that if I hadn't touched the mirror, I never would have known. I'd been doing travel nurse jobs for a few years by then, and I'd gotten used to moving from town to town. Hotels were okay for short jobs, but when it went past a week or two, I liked Airbnb. More room, a kitchen, and usually calmer than dealing, with hotel people closing doors at 2 in the morning. This job was in Fresno, California, May of last year. The hospital gave me a good amount of money, so I picked a 1-floor house in a calm area outside town. Pretty simple place. White walls, a rock yard in front, and a lemon tree in back. It was the kind of place you forget after you leave, which was fine for me. I was on auto for the first few days. I worked 12-hour times, came home, warmed up food, and slept hard. The area was calm enough that the noisiest thing I ever heard was water spray or some dog barking far away. Then, on my third night, just after 7 in the evening, there was a knock at the door. I wasn't waiting for anyone, no packages, no visits. When I opened the covers, I saw a man on the porch, in a short-sleeved shirt with an Airbnb mark on the chest. He had a neck badge that looked real and a board under his arm. Mid-30s maybe, normal size, bald head. When I opened the door a bit, he smiled like he'd been waiting. "Evening," he said. "Airbnb fixed team. Just need to do a fast fire alarm check. Company rule." It didn't sound correct. I'd rented many Airbnbs before and never had anyone come mid-stay for that. Usually if there was a problem, it came through the app. Never with someone at the door, but he had the shirt, the badge, the board, and the way he said it, calm, like it was normal, made it hard to close him out without seeming worried. I asked, "Got papers or something from the owner?" He tapped the badge around his neck. It had a scan code, a mark, his photo, and a first name, Aaron. It looked real enough from where I stood. "Shouldn't take more than 10 minutes, he added, already looking past me into the house like he thought I'd let him in. Against my better sense, I opened the door. He stepped in, looked around, and right away started writing on his board. "You're here alone?" he asked, easy. "Yes," I said, keeping my voice plain. He nodded like he knew already. He didn't go right to the fire alarms. Instead, he stayed in the hall, looking into each room. He'd lift his chin up toward the top as if checking, but his eyes were more on the chairs, the storage, the setup. "Good place," he said. "Calm. Do you usually work nights or days?" The question stood out wrong. It had nothing to do with fire alarm. I ignored it and said, "Both." When we got to the kitchen, he stopped near the back slide door. He pulled the handle, nodded, then wrote something. "Old locks," he said low, mostly to himself. "Could use better." He didn't really look at the fire alarm in that room. By the time he left, I was worried. 10 minutes had gone to 20, and I started feeling like this check had nothing to do with safety. He hadn't tested one alarm. Not once did he push the test button or use a light. That night, I checked the doors twice. Everything seemed okay. I thought it was me being too careful and tried to sleep. Around 1 in the morning, I woke to the soft sound of metal moving. Not loud, more like a careful shake. I got out of bed, went toward the kitchen, and saw it. The back door handle turning a little. The main lock was still set, but the knob lock wasn't. I knew I had locked it. Someone had unlocked it earlier. The only time it could have been was when Aaron stood there with his board acting like he checked the door. I got my phone and called the police, whispered the detail, gave them the address. While I was on the call, the shaking stopped. By the time a police car came 10 minutes later, the backyard was empty. 2 officers checked around. No footmarks they could see in the rocks. No sign of break-in. Just me, scared, standing without shoes in the kitchen. I told them about Aaron, the shirt, the badge. They shook their heads. "Airbnb doesn't send people like that," one said. "If there's a problem, it's done by the owner." I opened the app and messaged the owner right then. She wrote back fast, saying she hadn't sent anyone and had no clue what I meant. She seemed worried, promised to call Airbnb help. The officers made a report, told me to keep the main lock on, and suggested hotels next time. The rest of that night, I couldn't sleep. I pulled a chair under the front doorknob, pushed a seat against the slide door, and sat up with lights on until morning. The next day, I ended the stay early, packed my bags, went to a big hotel near the hospital, and paid for the lost nights. Airbnb help finally called, but the talk was hard. They said sorry, gave money back, but said they couldn't prove the man I saw was linked to them. It was a stop. A few days later, looking through a Fresno area online group, I saw a post that made me cold. A woman wrote about a man coming to her short stay place, saying he was fixed team, asking strange questions about if she was alone. Her words matched mine down to the bald head and board. The comments had guesses. Some said trickster, some said thief. Others said worse. I didn't add. What would I say? That I'd met him already, and I'd learned that a main lock only helps if the person hasn't had a chance to unlock other things. Now, when I travel for work, I carry a small rubber doorstop in my bag. Costs a few dollars, fits in my pocket, and it's the only thing that makes me feel I control a door someone else put in. I don't care how safe the ad looks, how nice the owner seems, or how calm the area feels. If a stranger in a shirt shows up with a board again, I won't ask for a badge. I'll close the door. Locks only work if you're the one with the key. When I picked the Airbnb in Sedona, I imagined long, calm mornings with my computer, a cup of coffee, and the sight of the red rocks shining orange at sunrise. I'd been working from home for over a year, and April seemed like the best time to try a work trip, somewhere calm, nice and warm. The ad looked perfect. A one-room small house next to a bigger home, own entry, fast internet, and a small outside area facing dry land. The owner, Eric, had many good comments, calling him helpful and friendly. After 2 years of trips and staying in Airbnbs sometimes, I thought I knew what to expect. The first day, he seemed just as said. Eric was mid-40s, dark skin, chatty. He met me in the drive, helped pull my bag inside, and gave me a basket of fruit, round fruits, oranges, even a jar of local sweet stuff. He showed the best food store, suggested some walks, and left with a happy, "I like to visit sometimes to make sure guests are okay." I thought nothing. Some owners are more friendly, and Sedona felt safe. The first strange time came on day 2. Around noon, while I was in a video call, there was a knock. Eric stood there with towels. "Thought you might want fresh ones," he said. I hardly used the ones there, but I thanked him. He stayed at the door, asking about my job, about my dog, who wasn't even with me. After 5 minutes, I had to say, I should go back to my call. Day 3, he came again, this time to check water flow. He went into the washroom while I sat on the seat, computer open, wondering if this was normal. He came out smiling, said it was fine, and left. By the end of the week, it was every day. Once it was fruit bread he'd made extra. Another time, a bird feeder he thought would make the outside nicer. He came in mornings, evenings, sometimes both. Each time happy, each time with a reason that seemed okay if you didn't add them up. I started feeling watched, like he knew when I'd been outside or cooking. One afternoon, I came back from a short walk and found the covers slanted different than I left. Another day, my power cord was over the counter instead of rolled by the plug. Nothing big, just small things you notice, because you live alone. I told myself I might forget, that I was working too much, tired, and thinking too hard. But I couldn't stop the feeling, so I started taking photos before going out. My computer's place, the covers, the things in the cold box. By week 2, the photos showed it. A bottle of bubbly water had moved spots. My tooth cleaner leaned different. One morning, my shoes were moved closer to the door. I thought about telling Airbnb, but worried I didn't have proof. If he had an extra key, and he did, it would be my word against his. And really, he hadn't taken anything or broken anything. He was just there too much. Then came the night everything went wrong. It was April 14th, a Friday. I'd worked late, closed my computer around midnight, and slept on the seat with a show quiet on my earpieces. Around 2 a.m. I woke suddenly, not from sound but from a feeling like odd air in the room. I sat up, took off the earpieces. The outside door, which I always locked, was open a bit. The dry air moved the cover. On the kitchen top, a cloth I hadn't used was flat, right with the edge. I didn't move for long. My phone was charging on the table, and I reached slow. I called Airbnb's helpline, whispering as I told. The person said to call police now. The police came fast. Sedona isn't big. They found no break-in, no bad lock, just the open slide. They walked through, used lights in corners, asked me to check if anything gone. Nothing missing, just moved. One officer asked if I knew the owner well. I told him about the daily visits, the towels, the fruit bread. His voice got strong. "You should leave tonight." I packed in under 20 minutes. Needed things first: computer, charger, wash items, clothes pushed into my bag with none of the careful fold from first day. I went to a big hotel off the road at 3 a.m., locked twice and slept with lights on. The next morning, Eric sent a message. "Sorry, I must have left. The outside open when I left a cloth last night. My error." I never answered. Airbnb gave back the unused nights after I told, though. I saw they didn't remove the ad. Weeks later, wondering, I looked again. Same place, same photos, same good comments, except deep down was one that made me sick. Nice small house, great site, owner very caring, comes every day to check. A bit too much for us, but okay. That word, caring. Now, no matter where I stay, I push a chair under the door at night. I take photos when I leave a room. I don't care if it seems worried, because I learned in Sedona. Safety isn't about locks or ads. It's about trust. And once broken, you can't ignore the signs. When you work night times in an ER, you get used to 2 things: being tired and making do. You learn to handle what's there, whether it's a bad hurt at 3 in the morning or a broken food machine when you haven't eaten in 12 hours. That's how I do trips too. Last summer, I picked an Airbnb in Tulsa, not because it was good. I just needed somewhere tidy, calm, and near the hospital where I was helping for 6 weeks. The ad seemed okay. Warm small house, own check-in, good comments. The photos showed a light kitchen, a small sit-room with a check seat, and a sleep room with plain white covers. Nothing special, but I wasn't planning much time there. Anyway, I got the code the night before start. The owner messaged, said his name was Greg, and told me to feel at home, normal. The day I got there, it was hot, so the car wheel felt like a hot pan. Tulsa in June is serious. I drove into the path around 6 p.m, tired from drive, bags over my arm. The area was calm, small homes, cut grass, one of those areas where every dog barks when you get out. I put the code on the keypad, heard the lock move, and pushed the door open. The air was cool inside, like the cold had been on all time. I stepped into the kitchen, put my bag on the top, and stopped. He was there, a man standing in the kitchen. He had a glass of water in his hand like he lived there. Pants, old shirt, haircut short, mid-40s maybe. "Hey," he said. "Easy, you must be the visitor." I didn't answer fast. I just looked at him, then at the glass, then back at the door I unlocked with the owner's code. Yes," I said at last. "And you are?" He smiled like I said something funny. "I'm Greg's brother. He didn't tell you." The words felt wrong. My phone was still in my hand from opening the door. I opened the Airbnb app and checked messages. No word of a brother. No word of anyone. Just the code and welcome. Feel at home. "I don't think so," I said slow. He nodded, took a drink of water. "Yes, sometimes forget things. I just came to check, make sure the place is good for visitors." That might have seemed true if he hadn't been inside already, like he didn't need me to open. I put my bag down, but kept eyes on him. ER work teaches you to note things under stress. Left hand on glass, no weapons seen, space to front door, maybe 12 feet. "You here to stay?" I asked. "No," he said. "Just checking things work. Cold air, cold box, you know." He smiled again. "Hospital person, right?" That made me stop. My page says nothing about my work. Airbnb doesn't show that. I hadn't told Greg what. "I do." "Where'd you hear that?" I asked. He shrugged. "Greg said it. Said you do long times. Said you'd like calm. That was enough." "I'll check with Greg," I said. I stepped outside and let the door close. From the path I messaged the owner. "There's a man in the house. Says he's your brother. What's happening?" Dots showed, then gone, then nothing. I sat in the car with it running, watching the kitchen window. After 2 minutes, the man walked to the sit room, looked out, and pulled the cover half shut. I called Airbnb help. The person seemed bored until I said person not allowed in rental. Then she got serious. She told me to leave right away and promised to handle. She said they'd call the owner. 15 minutes later, Greg messaged. "Oh, that's my brother Steve. He helps with the place. Don't worry." I wrote, "Your ad says nothing about others." I didn't agree to share. No answer. I drove to a cheap hotel that night. Loud cold, rough covers, but no one else had key. The next morning, I checked the ad. Still there. Still saying private room. No word of Steve. Out of hard head, or maybe dumb. I drove back in day. The front covers open. My bag gone from where I put it. I knocked. No answer. Knocked hard. At last, the door opened a bit. It was him. Steve. Same old shirt. Same too nice smile. "Hey," he said. "You left fast last night. Thought you'd come back." "My bag," I said. He held it up like waiting. "Safe." He gave it through the door gap. Then like afterthought. "You should calm, man. We're just checking." "Okay." "We?" I asked. He didn't answer. Just gave same smile and closed door. I stood on porch for 30 seconds, bag in hand, trying to understand. Then I left. I told Airbnb again. Sent photos, messages, described Steve. They gave money back and removed ad. But that didn't remove the picture of walking into a place said mine for week and finding someone inside, drinking water like he owned. Now, every time I pick Airbnb, I look for comments on alone time or owner talks. And every time I walk into new place, there's a moment of wait at the door, a thought I can't stop. What if someone's there? I've always been careful on trips. I check comments 3 times, stick to checked ads, and never pick cheapest. My friends joke about it, but when you're a 22-year-old woman going alone, you learn fast that careful is just staying safe. In March last year, I took her alone trip to Eureka Springs, Arkansas. I'd saved for months, part to relax from work stress, part to show myself I could like trips alone, without help. Eureka Springs looked good, calm, old, full of odd small homes on Airbnb. The place I chose was a changed cart house behind an old big home. The photos made it look warm, open wood, flower covers, metal bed. The owner's page was all good, full of nice comments about how kind she was. When I got there, all matched photos. The owner gave quick walk, showed kitchen, gave key. She was friendly, but a bit too looking. Her eyes stayed when I said alone. It wasn't too scary, just enough I saw. I ignored. People can be curious. The first night, okay. I made food, watched shows on computer, slept early. The second night, I saw small things. The cart house had one sleep room up with narrow steps. When I went to bed, I saw a slide lock on outside of sleep door. At first, I thought old part from when used for store. Still, it made me think. A lock that keeps in, not out, isn't common. I told myself likely nothing. Maybe old owners had strange safety ways. I pulled sleep door shut, but didn't close it. I thought no matter. I was only one inside. That night, I woke around 2 a.m. to noise of wood floor. At first, I thought, old house moving. Then I heard again, slow human steps in hall down. I stopped, listening. The sound came up steps, then quiet. The sleep door almost shut. Just bit of light from hall through gap. I didn't hear air. I didn't hear move. Just still like who they're waiting. My eyes went to slide lock outside door. A thought came. Door slow shut. Metal scrape. Slide in place. Me stuck inside. I didn't wait to see. I got bag. Pushed computer in. Eased sleep window open. It was tight, but fear made me bold. I climbed out on small roof part and dropped to rocks below. My hands shook, but I didn't stop. I ran across yard, to front and street. I didn't look back at house. A gas place mile away. I called ride to hotel. While waited, I messaged owner. Problem came. Had to leave early. Message about end later. No details. She didn't answer. Next morning, in hotel front, I opened Airbnb app and asked to end stay short. Owner wrote short. Sorry. Hope okay. Nothing more. I left private comment for Airbnb help telling what happened. The lock, steps, sensed someone outside room. They gave back nights. I never knew what if stayed. Maybe nothing. Maybe just wood noise and me scared. But every replay, I see slide lock. Steps stop outside door. Quiet after. Now, I don't unpack until sure every door and window good. If lock. Where wrong on bad side of door, I leave. No ask, no tell. Because lock like that, not mistake. And once shut, you don't choose when open. If you thought worst part wasn't owner knock, it was knowing they'd been inside. Press that like button. Press join so you never skip next scare. And tell in comments what you always check before stay. And if you thought scariest of gas place was high cost food, you're about to know different. Press now to see 4 scary gas place horror stories. Because scariest isn't empty spot. It's knowing you're not as alone as thought. Thanks for watching. Stay watch, stay safe, and I'll see you in next bad dream.